Good afternoon, everyone. Chris Berryman here, coalition builder and founder of Bringing Humanity Together. Welcome to another wonderful Wednesday edition of Conversations for Humanity here on LinkedIn, YouTube, and on our Twitter page. And also, our special guest here today, Ken Noble, is actually streaming live to his Facebook and to his LinkedIn.
Yep.
So today is going to be another great and engaging conversation with Ken to come share his story with us today on Wonderful Wednesday. And again, welcome everyone to the Bringing Humanity Together live stream. This is one of 3 open forums under the Bringing Humanity Together umbrella where people can discuss topics related to the workplace and humanity in the workplace in a very positive and constructive way. We want to know what the issues are out there that are facing people today because it's our goal, our mission, our passion, our purpose, and I dare say our calling here at Bringing Humanity Together to create environments that people will love, not only in those workplaces, but also in our very communities because we see how interconnected they really are. And as always, we'll be going live every day of the week, Monday through Friday, with our community calls booked in at the beginning and the end of the week, our Monday community call via Google Meet. If you'd like to join us on that call, please let me know. We'll give you the details straight away for next Monday's call. And then also our LinkedIn audio, which has already now been posted as of this morning. If you'd like to find out how to get on to that for Friday, which is going to be at 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, please send me a message to let me know. We'll get you the details about that. And as always, we'll be going live every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, all at 2:45 Eastern Daylight Time. So please bring your family, your friends, and people who really loves and great and engaging conversation that not only will inspire you, but will lead to connection, to lead into collaboration, and lead into community. So let's welcome in our guest today, Ken Noble. Hello, Ken. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing well, Chris. How are you?
Oh, I am doing great on this wonderful Wednesday.
Fantastic. It is. It's a wonderful Wednesday. It's a great day to be here.
That it is. That it is. So I take it, if I remember correctly, you're in Texas, correct?
Yes, that's correct. I'm in Waco, Texas.
Nice.
So Texas boy, born and bred, lived here most of my life. So yeah, kind of been in different parts of it at different times, but yeah, pretty much a Texas boy, born and bred.
Wow. Now, how far were you from probably, say, Killeen?
Killeen, Texas?
Yeah.
I'm maybe 45 minutes away at the most.
Wow. I used to have a friend of mine when I used to go to the high school with, and she was from Killeen, and I'd never heard of it. I'm like, I've heard of Waco, I've heard of Dallas, I've heard of Houston, but Killeen, I'm like, where's that at? She's like, it's like almost like smack dab in the middle of the state. I'm like, are you kidding me?
And of
course, I've heard of
the Air Force base, or one of the Army bases is there. One of the bigger Army bases. That's what most people know it for.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, my gosh. So that's how I knew about Killeen. But you know, I had friends of mine live in Waco, so I've heard of that a lot. But I had an aunt that used to be a big Cowboys fan, and she actually had regular season and I guess they call it now season tickets. Because back then they just had a regular season and a postseason back then, way back in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And she was a big Cowboys fan, so she actually was at the old Texas Stadium.
Okay.
And she used to go to the games like religiously, all the time.
Yeah, I lived in Dallas for about 6 months in my early 20s. And I literally drove by that stadium back when it was still standing, right? And they were still playing there.
Right.
Almost literally every day on my way to work, on my way there and on my way home. I drove right by it, right off of Loop 12 there.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah.
How's the weather though?
Well, today we are mid 70s and cloudy and humid. So, you know, it's not too bad. It's not like bright and sunny Florida where you live. So I've been to Florida a few times, and, you know, I just don't know that I can handle that much humidity and that much sand. I mean, like,
come on, your heat's different than our heat.
You guys have humidity.
It's the humidity.
You're sticky and sweaty all the time. I mean, so.
Oh, I see that we have Miss Carla driving on the road today. Hello, Miss Carla. We just got to wait for her.
Muted.
Yeah, she's got to get her thing worked out and everything because she's driving. So.
Yep.
There you go. couldn't press the button enough with my thumb. I'm sorry if my radio interfered with the first part of that. I couldn't get it to turn on. So,
Well,
and yes, I'm driving.
How was Dad today?
It's been a long day.
Been
Next
a long
subject.
There you go. So, Carla, this is Ken. Ken, this is Carla.
Hi, Carla.
Hey,
how are
Ken,
you?
How are you?
Doing
Good.
well.
Where are you from?
I'm from Waco, Texas. Currently, that's where I currently live. I'm a Texas boy, born and bred. But yeah,
And you're complaining about humidity?
It's not like what you guys have. I mean, yeah, we have some humid days here, but this humidity is not as bad as other places that I've lived. Not as bad. Waco's like just the right amount. It has some bad days. It's got some good days. But Florida, you guys are just humid all the time. It's just you're right there, ocean surrounding you on three sides. I mean, it's going to be humid.
And I have absolutely no problem with that.
Yeah. I sweat a lot, so it's just not my thing. It's beautiful. I love visiting, but yeah, make sure that whenever I'm there, I've got a good breeze and I'm okay.
Well, there usually is a good breeze if you're along the coast.
Yeah, that's true. But usually I am in Orlando at a conference or Disney World. I've been one time to Disney World, and there's all the people and it's just like, I can't breathe. So, and I'm a people person, but yeah, that's a little much for me.
Were you at the conference center there by not too far from Disney?
Yes, ma'am. The Orlando conference center. Yeah,
Orange
the big
County.
one.
Is it Orange County Convention Center?
No. That's a different one. There's it's the Orlando Conference Center. I can't remember. It's at the big hotel. It's like where all the big conferences happen.
It's not too far from the JW. Because the JW is not that far from there.
I don't know what the JW is.
The JW is the Marriott Hotel.
Oh, yeah. That's the one. It's the Marriott Orlando World Conference Center. That's the big one, right?
Yeah,
there.
they call it the JW.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, is that in downtown?
I wasn't expecting that question today.
Is that in downtown Orlando?
No, it's not even close to downtown. It's basically on the outskirts.
Oh, okay.
I feel like it's relatively close to Disney World.
Yeah, it's close. It's really close. It's not far from 192.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've been with, the pandemic and everything, and I just haven't.
Is that the one over by? Is that like the one over by Universal Boulevard?
Close, but
and
it's not that far. It's close.
There and
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we're talking about the same convention center.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, years ago when I went to Disney, there was nothing out. It was, Disney was literally out in the middle of nowhere, but not anymore.
Oh no! Everybody built everything close by.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Capitalize on the Disney.
Mm-hmm. All righty. So yeah, Carla, you're gonna kind of be surprised, but when Ken's gonna share his story, guess who he's a part of? That actually someone that you know of that actually has their name at the center at your church. I believe it's John C. Maxwell. Is that correct?
Are you asking me or him?
Yeah, I'm asking you.
Oh, yeah, we have a John C. Maxwell Center at our church.
Yeah, you've got the John C. Maxwell Leadership Center there at 12 Stone. Yeah, it's John's kind of piloted leadership brick and mortar store. So
yeah, well, he was the mentor for our pastor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
12 Stone's great. I went to a conference there years ago. I spent a lot of time in ministry, and one of my mentors hosted a conference, a youth and young adult leader conference there. Jeannie Mayo hosted it there. Gosh, I guess it was maybe 2015, 2016. It's been a long time.
Wow, you're going way back. Do you know her name was Donna Whitten?
No, I don't think so.
She's a pastor at 12 Stone. She might have been doing a lot of the media stuff back then, but now she's doing the care program, and our pastor is kind of stepping back and forming a senior group for 55 and over, and then they brought up another senior pastor.
Mm-hmm.
But she's a friend of mine, and she's been with 12 Stone for 30 years. Back in the day when they were, probably they weren't that old.
Mm-hmm.
When my kids were in high school, and my kids are 30. My oldest is 38, so
yeah,
it's been several years ago. So yeah, it's a good church. I like it.
Well, that's awesome. Well, so, Carla, now how is it that you're involved with Chris and the Bringing Humanity Together group?
Well, Chris and I met. We met through LinkedIn. I had some family down in the Lakeland area a long time ago, and actually went through Lakeland to visit them back in 2014 when I graduated from Jacksonville University. And we just happened to meet on LinkedIn. He told me what he was doing, and I thought it was a great idea because, at first we were talking about, bringing humanity to the workplace, and then we realized, hey, we need it in life in general, and then let people take that to the workplace. Absolutely. And, it just kind of grew from there.
Well, very cool.
Yep. Yeah. And I see we have Jody here with us. Hello, Jody.
Oh, can't hear you.
The sound yet again.
Howdy, howdy. Is that better?
Well, hello there, Jody. How are you doing?
I am good. How is everyone else here?
Doing good, doing good. Ken, this is Jody. Jody, this is Ken.
Hello.
And
so, Jody, introduce yourself and tell Ken how you joined us here at Bringing Humanity Together.
Oh, sure. Yep. So, Jody Benusa. I own Midwest Geriatric Consulting Services. It's a consulting firm / coaching / consulting. If your parents or one that you're caring for is needing to transition and you don't know how to do it, then you get a hold of me and I can do the entire process.
Nice.
So what's really kind of cool about it is I'm located in the Midwest, hence the name, but I can work anywhere in the U.S. I love that. Love it. The process is the same.
Absolutely.
So I met Chris just per chance. I was just kind of looking around on LinkedIn for groups that I kind of aligned with and landed in Bringing Humanity Together. And here I am now.
Very cool.
And I believe what you said already, that you have said yes, and you have said yes, and you have said yes.
Yes. Yep. Yes. That's what I've said. So my philosophy and what I think of is, you know what, when I say yes to an opportunity, let's see what yes is going to be next. And let's see what yes is going to be next. And let's see what yes is going to be next. So just keep moving forward. I just love living like that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Absolutely. Hello, James. How are you doing today, sir?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
Now, you got to tell us, do you have snow or do you not have snow today?
We still have snow, but it is not snowing out.
Well, that's good. Very good. Very good. James, this is Ken. Ken, this is James.
Hey, James. How are you, sir?
I'm well caffeinated. How are you?
I'm in the process of caffeinating. I only had one cup this morning, and so look, Jody's with me.
Got some coffee drinkers in the house today.
Yeah. I limit myself to 2 to 3 cups a day. And this morning I got really busy, and then I had physical therapy and just got back from that. And so yeah.
Yeah. James is our resident coffee connoisseur. He just loves coffee.
Okay.
Yes.
That he does. So let's jump into the conversation at hand with Ken today to come share his story with us today here at Conversation for Humanity. So Ken, it is now 3:00. The floor is yours. Please come share your story with us today on Conversation for Humanity.
Awesome. Well, I don't know how much of my story you want me to share, but I'll try to hit the big highlights, and then you can dive in and ask me some questions along the way if you want. But I'm 48 years old. I was born in a small town called Big Spring, Texas. It's out in the desert, halfway between Fort Worth and Dallas and El Paso, and was pretty much raised most of my life there. I come from blue collar stock. My mom was everything from a convenience store clerk to a waitress to grocery store clerk. My dad, gosh, he was everything from a Napa auto parts counter clerk to roughneck in the oil field, roughneck in the oil field. And then the last 20 years of his life, 18 years of his life or so, he spent as a assistant manager at 7-Eleven in a convenience store clerk role. And so that's kind of the style I came up in. I was one of those kids that was naturally smart and gifted, but I didn't really apply myself. And so loved to read, was super, did all that kind of stuff, but I was not very motivated to do anything more than just graduate high school. And my parents were okay with that. They'd never really pushed me to be like, the valedictorian or anything like that. They were just happy for me to graduate because they didn't. And so, and then I ended up just kind of bouncing around blue collar lifestyle myself. Worked my first job. I got it the day after my 15th birthday as a grocery store bagger. I bagged groceries at Don's IGA in my little bitty hometown. Worked there and then ended up at Sonic as a fry cook and Walmart and became a nurse's aide, just all kinds of things. Eventually I found myself in a manufacturing plant, worked there for a few years, and then found the girl that I thought I might want to be married to. And so I pursued her to Dallas and had a few jobs there. And we came back home and got married. And I don't know, we'd been married a few years and it was kind of rough. Two people of just different people trying to come together. And we ended up getting involved in a Bible study at my local church. And through that Bible study, I had this really powerful conversion experience where I realized that, just because I grew up in a Christian household and all that it was more than just a label. It was more like a lifestyle. And so in that moment, things began to change and transform for me all the way around. I started getting promoted in my job. I was a maintenance technician at the time for a large healthcare organization. And a few months later, I started volunteering at my church in their youth ministry. A month later, I was leading it. Like I said, I'd grown up in kind of the church world. And so I ended up volunteering there for like 7 years. But at the same time, while I was doing that, I started gaining influence in my corporate job. I got promoted to a supervisor, and then I started taking, they used to call them, and I think they may still have them, skill paths. They were traveling seminars that would go and show up at hotel conference rooms, just kind of all around you. And it would be everything from learning Microsoft to management and skills development and those kind of things. So I was doing that. And then I would travel up to Lubbock, which is where our home office for our corporate hospital was, take leadership classes there. But it was during that same time when I'm learning and growing that my pastor gave me a book called The 17 Laws of Teamwork by John Maxwell. And it just opened my mind to so much more. I was trying to build a team of volunteers, but I didn't really know how to do it. And, juggling all these kids. I mean, we didn't have a huge youth group. It was like 10 to 20 kids or something like that. And so over the course of everything that happened, things began to shift and change. And so I just began to become this voracious reader of anything and everything leadership. So started with the 17 Laws of Teamwork. Then I went to John Maxwell's Developing the Leader Within You, then the 21 Laws of Leadership. And then I started getting Ken Blanchard, Jim Collins, reading guys like Rick Warren, anything and everything that I could about leadership, personal development, spiritual development, church growth and development. And so eventually, as I progressed up the corporate chain, I felt really called into full-time ministry. And so I ended up leaving my corporate career and went into ministry. But my first paid position in ministry was as a hospice chaplain, which I learned a lot in that experience about just the ministry of presence. And it really helped me to be a better pastor, just kind of caring and being more accepting of where people were and what that looked like. And then I left that and went on staff with my church, but I was getting a very small salary. It was what we called an honorarium. And from there, I transitioned to a bigger church with a real salary, made the most I was ever making in my life. And I had benefits. And I was in Arkansas. I was just south of Little Rock in Whitehall, Arkansas. I was there for 6 years. And so at this point, 13 years of ministry, I've grown, I've developed, I've learned how to lead teams, having lots and lots of success, building people, developing leaders, kind of just really transforming the ministries I'm a part of. And in 2013, I moved back to West Texas, to Midland, Texas, and went on staff at a mega church there. 4,000 people, took on a ministry there, grew it, developed it. After about 4 years, they said, hey, let's talk about maybe getting you ready to plant a church. And it was during that transition that some things kind of just began to shift. They began to shift at home. And I just didn't know that me and my family were ready to take that step. And of course, just in that transition, I ended up kind of stepping away from the parts of ministry that I loved, right? I wasn't teaching from a pulpit as much. I wasn't developing interns. Like I would create intern programs and those kind of things. I wasn't creating and developing interns. I wasn't really doing any kind of major group leading. And so I just kind of, the passion for what I was doing Monday through Thursday just kind of started to sink, right? It was at that time that one of my direct reports asked me, he said, Ken, you're always doing stuff for other people. What do you want to do for yourself? And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, well, is there any kind of certifications you want, anything you want to do? And, I'd always just read books and applied it and built and developed myself. And so when he asked that question, I was like, well, maybe become certified as a marriage counselor, or, there's this John Maxwell thing. I've been a huge John Maxwell fan my whole life. And so he encouraged me. And so I looked into it. I signed up. And in August of 2017, I became a certified team member with the John Maxwell team. Well, at the time, I didn't know, but they talk about, hey, can we have, you can turn this into a business. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Didn't really think much about it. But then I went home and I started taking time off of work to go and speak at companies and corporations, doing lunch and learns. In the evening, I was hosting mastermind groups, where we would take a book and we would go through a book study together and just kind of build one another up. I started doing individual coaching, and then I got my first contract. I think I got a $6,000 contract to do 8 weeks of training for 2 groups. And I was like, wow, this is great, extra money. And so 2018, I was really getting into the groove and loving it. And that's when we ended up having a conversation at the end of 2018. And he asked me, he goes, Ken, are you happy here? And I looked at him, I was like, I'm not unhappy, but I wouldn't say that I'm happy. I show up, I do my job, but there's no passion, there's no excitement. I feel like I'm pushing a chain up a hill instead of like pulling people where they want to go. I don't know. A lot of the administrative things that I was doing at that point in time, I kind of I don't know. They just kind of sucked the life out of what I was doing as a pastor. And he said, well, if you could do anything and you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do and why? Right. One of the classic questions of coaches. I was like, well, man, I would do what I'm doing with my John Maxwell certification. He goes, well, can you make money? Oh, absolutely. I can make, 3 times what I make as a pastor. And so we talked about it. And so we came up with this plan for me to launch in the middle of 2019. Little did I know that there was a pandemic right around the corner. And as much as they teach you and train you and equip you and certify you to be good at what you do, there's a lot of things that they don't teach you how to do to build a business. And building a business is way different than what people imagine it's going to be. And so I started taking some hits, ended up falling into some depression. We ended up dealing with some stuff at home as well. And so this fall of 2019, late fall, early Christmas, right? Nobody's really thinking about leadership training and development, all that kind of stuff. And so financially, we just got really, really stuck, and it really hurt. At the same time, we found out that my father-in-law was diagnosed with cancer again. It was his 4th time through, and his chemo was going to be pretty intense. And so we ended up fasting and praying, and felt like, you know what, God hasn't allowed my business to take off in Midland and Odessa like I thought it would. So what we're going to do is we're going to see if God wants to move us closer to my in-laws. And we felt like he said yes. And so we said, okay, we're moving. Then pandemic happens. What little business I did have was kind of shut off, because you can't have more than 10 people in a room. And for a public speaker and trainer, that's kind of a big deal. And I was kind of at a loss, but we felt God was calling us to move. And so we were moving by faith. My wife came out at the end of May for a job interview, and we loaded up both cars and a trailer and just left everything here at a storage building. And then went back home and waited for the call. They called and said, yeah, we want to give you the job. And we started looking for houses and started packing some more. And we moved here in June of 2020, dead in the middle of the pandemic, to a new town where I knew 0 people. So I decided I need to get a job. I got to pay. I got to do some things, right? I did end up doing some virtual trainings. And so that enabled us the money to move. Of course, God's hand was on all of that, and we were able to move in the middle of it. And then I was like, okay, I just got to go find a job. And crazy as it is, you can't find a job in the middle of a pandemic. And pastoral skill sets with no degree, and having to rewrite a resume for an algorithm on Indeed is not the same as sending resumes in to normal people. And so I couldn't find a job. And I finally found a job utilizing my maintenance skills from my early career as a handyman. And literally, I worked that job for 1 week. And every morning when I got up and I went to work, I heard literally in the back of my mind, I firmly believe it was the voice of the Lord saying, you can work hard to build your dream, or somebody will pay you to work hard to build theirs. And I'm not 25 anymore. It was rough. It was hot. It was miserable. It was the middle of June, actually the latter part of June at this point. And it was humidity in Waco that I wasn't used to, because I was in the desert, and it was terrible. And I was like, I don't know if I'm cut out for this. And my wife said, honey, go do what you love to do. And my father-in-law said, son, you've spent so much money investing in this, and you're so good at what you do. Don't quit now. So I walked in the next Monday and said, okay, I gotta go build my business. And I went and signed up for the local chamber and started getting involved in networking organizations and making cold calls and trying to build my business in the middle of a pandemic. And at the same time, I had to pivot, because the main force of my business prior to the pandemic was leadership training and development, getting into corporations and companies. And I had a specific avatar that I targeted in the Permian Basin, because they were all oil field related. But moving here to Waco, I couldn't do training and development. We're still in the pandemic. So I had to switch to coaching. Coaching had always been part of it. It was taking some coaching, certification when I was a pastor, and so I was like, okay, well, I've coached, and coaching is one-on-one. I can do that via Zoom. And so that's what I did. But I still didn't know how to build a coaching business. So all of 2021 was learning how to build a coaching business. And then 2022 is how do you integrate all of that? And then how do you get better at social media? And how do you get your word out? It's like there's this ongoing, always, or I should say never ending, always expanding learning that you have to do in the entrepreneurial space. And at the same time, it's a walk of faith. I tell people this all the time. It doesn't matter if you're an atheist, a Buddhist, a Muslim, or a Christian. If you're an entrepreneur, you're walking by faith. You really are. And so one of my mentors challenged me to go out and to be on 100 podcasts in the year 2023 to get my story out, to tell people, to add value wherever I go, so that I'm not the best kept secret. He goes, Ken, you're fantastic at what you do, but nobody knows who you are and what you do. So go out and tell the world who you are and what you do. And so that's how I ended up connecting with Chris, and how I finally got here. I feel like I booked this in like January. I mean, gosh, Chris is like super famous. And so there's like this long list, I guess, of people lined up to be on this show. So I'm grateful to be here today.
Well, we're so humbled and honored for you to be with us here today, Ken. And I'm by the stretch of any imagination possible, am I ever going to be famous? I just truly believe that this is the way I look about when it comes to that fame and fortune kind of dynamic. I don't want it. I really don't. Because, see, like I said to you before we started the call, I truly believe the very act of giving is the very act of receiving. So it's going to come back no matter what. It's going to be there. What I really want to do, bring humanity together for, is all these people who's actually on this call and watching literally live in and of itself, because I truly believe and know these are the people who are going to really build this out, because they see it, they understand it, they resonate with it. And they can see that alignment for them and everything like that. It's just like I share with people every day, Ken. I truly believe if we can sit at the table of humanity, I truly believe that the better question to ask is not like what you do, what do you do, what do you do. The better question to ask is, who are you?
Yeah.
And then once you get in tune with that, all bets are off and everything like that. So let me ask you this, Ken, and then we'll go around the room if anyone has any questions or anything like that. For you on this journey that you've been put upon, and you, of course, you were talking about faith, literally in and of itself. This is what came to mind for me when you were talking about that. Did you really, and I share in this kind of context, it's like I share with people every day, when hope and faith come knock on your door, are you willing to answer that call?
Yeah.
So Ken, did you answer that call?
So yes, I answered the call, but I think it had come knocking and calling earlier in my life several times. And I didn't know that I was ready or qualified or even recognized it, if that makes sense. I was almost 20 years into my church ministry career. And we finally got around to talking about church planting, but I felt like I was supposed to be involved in that and doing that probably 15 years before. A great book by John Maxwell. I feel like I always promote his books, and I'm part of his team, but it's called Put Your Dreams to the Test. And he asked the question in that book, are you living someone else's dream for your life? And I feel like that for the majority of my pastoral life as a Christian, that's what I was doing. I was always waiting for someone else to give me the approval to do the things that I felt God was calling me to do. I felt very often that you're not ready for the thing that God has called you to do. Even though looking back now, knowing what I know now, had I held my value, had I believed that I truly heard from God and I didn't second guess it because someone else said, oh, no, that's not what God's saying to you, right? Because when you hold people in higher esteem than yourself and you're like, oh, well, they're wiser than I am. And there's some truth to that. Don't get me wrong. I think you should have mentors in your life and you should have coaches in your life. And I think what I should have had a coach earlier on that was coaching me, as opposed to people that I placed in mentorship that I was waiting on and relying for them to give me the green light to move forward with my future, if that makes sense at all.
And I really love that, because, see, we've talked about something like this a number of live streams ago, that we wait on the permission from others to gives us the green light to say, hey, you can go now you can go collect your $200 and get onto the board of life and everything like that, like we played in Monopoly for so many years. But sometimes it's like what it comes to mind, what Carla has said many times on this program, is that we wait for the right perfect moment. We wait for the right time. We wait for the right people. We wait for so long that we literally have that opportunity pass us by, and most often than not, Ken, we miss it.
Yep.
For whatever rhyme or reason, and it's really a sad thing when we truly don't not only see that opportunity, but and Carla said this many times on the broadcast too as well, that we don't let life happen for us rather than to us. Because when you let life happen to you, you always say, oh, woe is me, I'm back in this hole again. Why? And then next thing you know, you're saying, okay, how did I end back up here yet again? And I truly believe that we can step into a much larger world again, because I truly believe in this dynamic so well, and we all do here at Bringing Humanity Together, that choice is the ultimate path to freedom. If we choose our way, we don't define it by anyone else. It's just like a great friend of the program, Brian Sumner, has taught me so well in, is most often than not, we let others define us and to project onto us of what they see us doing and what they should want us to see do or being done. And they're thinking that that's our reality when in fact it's not. It's their perception thereof.
Exactly.
And I truly believe that, and this is another reason why I've created Bringing Humanity Together. I just saw, even way before the pandemic, that there is a new way to lead and a new way to be.
Yeah.
And if we can do that in a way that can, like I said, gets us to a place of connection, that will lead into collaboration, that will lead us into community, why not do it? So I will go to Jody, and then we'll go around the room, and I want to get the sense of the room right now and see what everyone's thinking and feeling right now. Jody, what say you?
All right. So lots of good stuff in here. I can relate to a lot of what you were talking about, Ken, and I can't wait till it's my turn to share my story. So anyway, Chris, when you were talking about faith, and Ken, when you were talking about faith, a couple of thoughts came right to the top of my thinking, and that is, you know what? Simply faith is believing in something that you cannot see. And it's also, I'm going to piggyback off of that and say that faith is gratitude in action. You really got to have faith to be grateful all the time. You really do. So I really like, I mean, you made me think of those things, and I haven't thought of that for a while. So thank you for sparking those thoughts. Another thing, Chris, what you just said is, you know, how we wait. We wait for someone. We wait. So I remember being in this quiet place during, I don't remember where I was, but it was a quiet spot, and I was waiting. I was waiting on the Lord. I was waiting. And I like to think about words, and I like to look words up in the dictionary to make sure that I get the true definition of them. So I looked up the word wait. And one of the definitions was that of kind of like a waiter. Mm-hmm. And so I pictured myself being dressed in a uniform as a server with a towel over my arm, ready to serve. I was waiting. And I got to tell you, that felt so good to be able to be in that service part of the wait. So that's something that helped me get through that. Funny, I had to take a quiz today for a class that I'm taking tomorrow. And they needed to know my personality type. That's pretty funny if you know me. So my personality type, I don't know if you can see this, but look at how much dominance I have in my life. I don't wait for the green light of anyone. I don't wait for anyone's approval. I just dive in and do it. And that's really who I am. And then there was one more thought. Wait. I don't know. If it comes back to me, I'll raise my hand.
All right. Over to you, Miss Carla. What shows up for you right now in this great and engaging conversation with Ken and his story?
Well, you know how you meet some people and you think, God, I could spend a whole evening talking to somebody, you know? It's amazing. I love the connection with John C. Maxwell. When I left healthcare in 2019 after a layoff, And God spoke to me and told me that it was time to grow my business because I wanted to. And I was trying to figure out a way to still have an income come in, and saw my dad getting older. And Jody, we need to have a conversation after the day I've had. And, wanted to spend quality time with him. Little did I know that dementia would come upon us in 2020. And, God spoke to me and said, okay, you wanted to grow your business, so we're going to start. And I was like, huh? And it's long story short, it's the first time in my life I was never fearful of finances or anything. I thought, okay, I had put it in God's hand, and it was going to work out. Well, in the meantime, I had I know Chris knows this story. James might know it, and a few people, if they've been on here a couple of years, they might know the story. I'm on the medical team at our church. And so if anybody falls or whatever, and, we take care of them during the service, and we never get called. We're highly qualified overqualified for what we do. But I said, oh, I'm free. I can volunteer for this John C. Maxwell Live to Lead.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. So you know where I'm coming from.
Yeah, that's a great event. Awesome.
I knew who John C. Maxwell was, but I didn't know who he was. I kind of heard a little bit, but I didn't really know who he was. And I never got the connection between him and how he got connected with our pastor, Kevin Myers, and, all this other stuff. So TMI, but I decided, okay, before I go and meet the people that I'm relieving at noontime, I'm going to go to the restroom, because I didn't do the whole session. I was doing the afternoon because somebody else had taken the morning. And I went to the restroom, and they had it mic'd into the restrooms so people could go and not, miss out or anything, or they could step out and take a phone call or whatever. There were all sorts of people from all sorts of industries. I literally was sitting there thinking, oh my God, this is exactly where I need to be right now in my life. It was just amazing. And from then on, I have made it a point that I do the full day. And I think I've done, I did half day 19, I did 20, 21, and 22. I've done 3 years straight, start to finish.
Yeah.
And it's just so inspiring. I would recommend any of his Live to Leads. Anytime, if anybody wants to come to Atlanta and actually stay with me, they can. I got a guest room. It is certainly worth the effort to go. That the book that you were talking about, what was it, Peace Through Leadership or something, or I forget what it was. It wasn't like the 21 Laws of Leadership or the 7.
Developing the Leader Within You.
There was another.
That's a good one too.
Yeah.
There was another one you talked about. Well, I have to look it up. But I was thinking, oh, I haven't heard that book. I'm gonna have to get that one. Yeah. But it transcends all industries in terms of leadership, and we've talked about that here. And being a leader and not managing people, and giving people opportunities to grow, and having them exhibit their strong points. And I gave up a long time ago about what anybody thought about what I wanted to do. If it was something that spoke to me and I wanted to do it, I was going to do it. I don't care what other people think. If it's something crazy and stupid, sure, I'd listen to my husband or whatever. But these people that are like, I want to start a business, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. And people go, ooh, I don't know why you want to do that. I mean, I had people telling me, go get a real job instead of got a real job. It something gets me out of bed every morning, puts a smile on my face. How's your job working out for you? And, I gave up a long time ago, like Jody said, caring what people thought. I wasn't going to let people hold me back.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, I don't want anybody to take anything negative away from this, right? I think that people see our potential and see what we can do, and they automatically kind of jump in and just go, oh, this is what you'd be great at, instead of, oh, you know what, you'd be great, but we got to get you prepared first. Instead of saying, that's kind of the thing that really sparked me into launching my own business, was when my direct report asked me, what would you want to do? What would make you happy? What, and it's like, well, this would, and so am I making bazillions of dollars? No, that's not what I got into this for, right? I just want to make a decent income for me and my family. I don't want to be rich.
Yeah.
I drive Mercedes. I mean, I want to be comfortable, and I want to have savings, and retirement, and pay for my kids' college. But I don't want to drive a Mercedes. They're just not my style. Give me a nice, good Ford F-150, and I'm a happy man.
Yeah.
I'm a fool.
Of course, it goes right along with Waco.
Yeah, absolutely.
Waco. Yeah. Well, you gotta take the time, and I don't think a lot of people take the time that to actually sit and think about what inspires you. I have a friend of mine. Her husband was my chiropractor. My husband knew him long before I did, and I knew him for 10 years before I got connected with him. And she was a personal trainer. But people do vision boards every year, and that's great. But you're not related to those cute little pictures that you do on your vision board, unless it's a vision board of like where you want to live, what park you want to send your kids to, where you want to have coffee, where you want to work out, those kind of things, and actually get real about it. A lot of people don't take time to do that. They don't play what Kim and Rob call stupid idea time. That all cards are off, no judgment is there. The table's open to what do you want your life to look like? And if I ask people, what do you want your life to look like in a year, 3 years, 5 years? They're not even thinking about tomorrow.
Exactly.
They don't know what makes them happy. They don't know anything other than their job that most of the time they don't like.
I read I don't know if it was an article I read or if it was a podcast I was listening to, but when public education was set up, it wasn't to make us critical thinkers. It was to train us and equip us to be better at working for others. That's the whole point of the education system, is not to create individuals and entrepreneurs and really help people to soar in their gifts. It's to make everybody fit in this mold of, we want you to be productive members of society. And here's what we think you need: reading, writing, arithmetic, right? And then here's the history, and here's some electives, but not electives that you're going to use in life. Like, we need life skills training, right? Teach kids how to change tires and check their oil, and balance a checkbook and budget, right? Don't make that an elective. That needs to be right in there with everything else. And so I hate that COVID happened. I hate that there were people that were sick, but if anything, it helped people realize that they need to take care of themselves. And there were 47 million people that voluntarily left the workforce because they said, I want more out of life. I want to work differently. I don't want to be spending an hour and a half each way commuting to work, to sit in a cubicle, to not even be able to interact with the people next to me, to have a boss that's always breathing down my neck, and to have this stress. People effectively showed that they could work from home and be more productive during the pandemic. And then they were like, okay, pandemic's over. We got to go and put you under our thumb now with management, as opposed to trusting people and using your leadership. And people are saying no. There are tons of people out there that are looking for remote work because they've realized that, hey, another pandemic can come rolling through. I could get laid off again. My job could shut down and I won't have an income. I could be the next pandemic victim and die from it. Who knows? But they've realized how important family is and how important life is. And, I was 55 when I realized, what do I want the rest of my life to look like? And it wasn't the way that I was living it.
I went back to school at 50. That was my midlife crisis.
Wow.
And some people get convertibles or F-150s, and I got two college degrees, but I spent a lot of time and energy to get $10,000 more a year. That was it.
Yeah.
And I became a machine for somebody. So when I post something like, if you don't develop your own dreams, somebody else is going to hire you to develop theirs.
Mhm.
It is so true.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's go to James and hear from him about what's he's thinking on today's conversation with Ken's story. What shows up for you?
A lot of things. And one of the things that shows up to me is mentorship. Mentorship is the biggest aspect of anybody's life, whether it's a family member, whether it's a co-worker, whether it's somebody from BHT, whether it's someone from LinkedIn, wherever. Mentorship is all around us. It's like air. We cannot take air away from us because air is all around us, as is mentorship. Mentorship is all around us. All we got to do is look and listen. And I'm going to be the first person to tell you, Ken, you don't know my story yet, but I burnt myself out working as a custodian for 16 and a half years, and I thought I was freaking Superman, doing the 5 days a week, not resting and taking time for myself. Well, lo and behold, those chemicals took the better part of who I was and just flushed it right down the tubes. And so, yeah. And then the pandemic hit, and the man upstairs started knocking at the door saying, "Hello, wake up, come on, smell the roses." And yeah. And so leadership is all around us. And one of my biggest mentors, Isabel Zimmerman, she's been on on BHT quite a few times. And one of the things she said is, your ego mind tries to control your inner child, and your inner child runs constantly scared because it doesn't know what to do. So your ego mind tries to protect you. Well, it's all about what you want the leader to give to you, because you can't expect a leader to say, well, I'm going to lead you. Well, if you don't have any goals for yourself, then how are you expected to make the leader show you what to do? It's like painting a picture. How are you going to paint the picture without a canvas? Think about that one.
James, I thought about you the other day because I was on Google. I think I was looking for some images to post, and I don't even remember the topic that it was, but it showed two people,
Mhm.
and the people were depicted as like made out of chain link fencing. If you got the visual, like a basket type, thing, and inside of each little person was an inner child.
Mhm.
It was just like, oh, that's the inner child that Isabel talks about and you were talking about. It just really just hit home for me.
Wow, that's amazing. So, Ken, this is what comes up for mind for me too about everyone shared today, and of course in relevance to your story. Let me ask you this: is leadership about you or leadership about others?
That's a question for me.
Yes.
Oh, leadership is definitely about others. I mean, a good leader is always focused on the people that he's leading and not on himself. A good leader sacrifices himself for those that he leads. He's trying to promote those that he leads above himself and help them to get further and faster. He's watching out for them. He's caring about them. He's helping them. He's serving them. All too often, people think of leadership as, this is, I'm the leader. You have to follow me, but that's not it at all. I mean, it's about, I'm a leader. And so therefore, I may have the position, but I've got to have your permission to let me lead you. And I do that by building relationship and making sure you know that I care about you.
Well, let me share this with you too as well. I want to get your take on it. It's the 5 pillars of bringing humanity together, and I want to see what gets into your mind and gets into your soul when you hear it. The 5 pillars are this: leadership, human development, because human development to me encompasses not only personal development, but also encompasses professional development, soft skills, communication, all those kind of things. That's all interconnected and intertwined there. Then, of course, we'll have health and wellness, family, and community. What shows up to you when you hear the 5 pillars of bringing humanity together?
Well, first, of course, is leadership. That's what I do, right? So that jumps out to me. But yeah, I mean, I think all of those are really good. But I only think I only got 4. There was leadership, human development, health and wellness, and then was it family development? Is that what you said?
Family and community.
Oh, family and community. Okay, I thought those were one and the same, but there were 2 separate ones. So,
well, when you think about it, they're all interconnected, are they not?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, 100%. 100%. But of course, like you said, leadership is kind of my wheelhouse. And so, of course, that one stands out to me. But good leadership needs to be in every area. We call them the 7 hills of influence, whether it's government, family, religion, arts and entertainment, media, military. I mean, there's like these 7 areas that are key, and that leadership needs to be good and excellent in order to make the world a better place around them.
So this also comes to mind, and we'll go to Jody and Carla here in a second, but this one comes to mind too as well. Do you believe in this kind of dynamic? Because I truly believe it's going to be the new way of not only doing business, but how we can build out communities. Do you truly believe, like I do, and we all do here at Bring Humanity Together, that employees are not the way to go anymore? To me, the employees is another dying, dead term in and of itself. I truly believe in a partnership dynamic. What say you on that?
I think that your employees are definitely partners in what you're doing, because without the people on your team, you're not going anywhere and you're not leading anyone. I think that that's hard for people to switch the mindset of employee versus partner, because an employee is taken care of. I have a salary, I have benefits, I have, I can go home at 5 o'clock and I have the weekend off, right? A partner is more ownership. Right. And a lot of people, they don't want the ownership side. They just want to clock in, clock out, and go home. Right.
Yeah, the employee says, you tell me what to do and I'll do it. The partner is, what are the goals of the organization? What direction are we going to go into? And I hear what Chris is saying, but I think that if you help people realize how they fit into an organization and how they are an integral part of an organization, and the organization is such because they're a valued part of the organization, you get more of that partnership, and people become ambassadors of the company and not necessarily just an employee coming to pick up a paycheck. If you got a front desk person that says, oh, well, I'm only the front desk person, if you could relate to them, because I had a girl, I called up to speak to an owner of a nail salon, down the street from me, and I asked her, hey, how are you? What was your name? And giving her a message and stuff. And I said, well, what do you do? And she says, well, I'm just the front desk person. And I said, if I could tell you one thing, don't tell people you're just the front desk person. I said, has anybody told you how valuable you are? Because that is the first impression that people get when they walk in the door. You're not just the front desk person to be there as a warm body. People are relating to you. They're relating to your personality, your welcoming skills, because that's going to set the tone for the whole organization, for their whole visit at the nail salon, for example. I think when we start to talk to people about how valuable they are to an organization, they're not necessarily partners if they bought into a practice or anything like that, but they've created some sense of ownership, not just somebody sitting there collecting a paycheck.
Yeah. I think, in my opinion, I think that the leadership's role of an organization is to cast the vision for their organization and company and values so well that employees transition into partnership roles with maybe not necessarily with the title, but once you have them positioned from you're not an employee, you're a partner, and this is your company and your business. And, the partners feel like they have more responsibility to make sure something happens. Now, then that also is going to flow back into pay as well. I mean, if you have a business and you're calling your people partners, but you're keeping the majority of the income and you're just paying them peanuts, right? They're not really partners. And so, I think that if you're going to create that culture, it needs to be very organic and vision driven and led. But what you say has to be backed up in the support and the care that you give those people. For me. And then once you've created that transition piece, right, if you want to go from a boss employee or a leader employee system to a, leader partner organization, then as more people come in, you kind of set that expectation as they're coming in, to coming on as partners.
Jody, what shows up for you right now?
Did you remember what it was you were going to say?
Yeah, I did. I've just been sitting here quiet because on that quiz I took, it said I didn't do that very well. So yeah, what I was going to say earlier is, what we're groomed from the moment we enter school to sit down, be quiet, and listen and do what we are told to do. I clearly remember being in first grade and looking out the window and looking at the woods that was just on the edge of the playground and imagining what was in that woods and imagining the lions and the tigers and the bears that were in there. And my teacher saying, Jody, pay attention. So my imagination was squashed. And I think that's what a lot of people struggle with today, is that we've forgotten how to use the gift that God has given us, our imagination, because we are programmed, we are told not to do that anymore.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
When we're encouraged to do it later, we have forgotten. And that tool is so rusty that we just keep it in the toolbox and we don't oil it up and get it working. So that's what I was going to say earlier. But leadership, I've been really thinking about that since you brought that question up, Chris, and I'm going to go just a step further, if I may.
Absolutely.
So yes, leadership is putting others first. Absolutely. But I also think leadership is about yourself and how you are taking care of yourself and how you are feeding yourself spiritually, emotionally, how you are presenting. So I think leadership has to go hand in hand with others first. Truly believe that. But you have to show up and be that leader as well.
That's in like setting an example.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think I said this earlier in the week, maybe it's Monday or last week. I can't remember, the days kind of run together, but maybe it's yesterday. I was in nursing for 40 years and I never had personal development.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
all task oriented. And, with what I'm doing now, it's like a personal development plan with a paycheck. It's just amazing. It's just amazing that I can sit down and take time to focus on me.
Yeah. Yeah. So then my last actual 9-to-5 job was much more than a 9-to-5 job, because I was salaried, which we all know what that means.
Yeah, 52 hours a week minimum.
Oh, 50 to 60 for me.
Yeah.
52 minimum.
So as much as I loved my job, my responsibilities, I was not able to execute my giftings, my spiritual gifts. I wasn't able to serve my patients and my families the way that I've been designed to do. And I did not feel like a partner at all in this organization. I had an employee number. My employee number had to always precede my name. And because that's how I was identified. And yeah, my story is coming, but I left because I was not a partner.
Yeah.
Yeah, and see, that's why I truly embrace the partnership dynamic and model, because if you do that, and I've shared this with people from all around the world, because I truly believe, Ken, that the best investment is human investment.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you invest in them and they invest in you and you help them build their field of dreams, they will in turn help build yours. It's just that simple. And it's like we've said it on a broadcast many months ago. In fact, when it was Ed Millett who were sharing one of his videos, and he said, we don't even dream big enough anymore. We get to a point that we don't even dream to not only allow our dreams to become real, but we don't even allow others to take their dreams and insert them into ours. And then in turn, they don't have the opportunity to dream their dreams so big that they only allow ours to come into theirs. And I truly believe that it's the time to change that, because like I said before, I truly believe it's a new way to lead and a new way to be if we just allow life happen in such a way that we're not beholden to what the status quo has told us that what we have to do. Just like you said, when it comes to education, we were told that we must do this in this certain way. We must be saying, heck with your imagination, Jody. You can't go think about what's in the trees, think about the lions, thinking about all that. You can't do that. I dare to say it's time to dream. It's time to think big. Time to really bring that home to everyone that you have an opportunity to reach to, because there are some people who don't even know who you are. And it's like what my father taught me at a very young age. If you put your name on something, they will know it comes from you. And I truly believe that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's good stuff.
All right. Very good. So let's get to our final thoughts and call to action and everything like that. And I'll go over to you, Jody. What's your final thoughts and your call to action today?
The final thought is truly one of gratitude. I am so incredibly grateful to be here today. I've got a pretty tight schedule this week, and I've only got a couple times that I can be present here. And it was today, and it was totally meant to be. So I thank you so much for the words that you shared so much that I needed to hear. So thank you for that. Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your story.
Yeah.
Call to action is, you know what? I'm going to take the rest of the day off and go imagine. I'm going to go imagine and dream about how wonderful my business can be.
Well,
absolutely.
I will say this, Jody. We have to do a talk about your vision when it comes to waiting, the actual serving. I believe what you illustrated there was just truly amazing. Being called to serve, because you, like you said, you got the uniform on, you got the towel over your thing, and you're ready to serve. I believe it's that time for us to do that here, bringing humanity together. We definitely need to do that. So, Miss Carla, what's your final thoughts and your call to action today, ma'am?
Sorry, I had to step away to make an appointment for my dad. So I have gotten bits and pieces of this, and I do apologize in between internet connections on my route home and whatnot, and then my dad. But I'm a firm believer in servant leadership. I'd never heard of servant leadership till probably 4 or 5 years ago. And, you know, it just keeps speaking to me. And I think that when we focus on ourselves and we work on ourselves, it allows us to serve other people in so many different ways. And, you know, being a leader, whether it be with a group or whatever, it's not about me being a leader and having a title and being able to do this, that, and the other, and tell people what to do and where to go, that kind of thing. We're all there for whatever the cause is that we're working on. And I'm there to be an example for others, and I'm there to help others to where that we can all give together. And like Chris, we've talked about, we're rowing and growing together. And I think that that's what it's all about.
Yeah, and that is why I truly believe the time is now that we can really capitalize and impact humanity, because I just see it. I know it's there. We just got to find that dream that everyone sees and say, you know what, I'm going to dress up and it's time for me to serve, and it's time to do that. Lead with my humanity every day in every way, and give others the opportunity to do the very same. So here's my final thoughts and call to action in today's great conversation and story from Ken today. I will, like I just said before, just lead with your humanity every day in every way. Just meet people where they are, take them for who they are, build that bridge to them and with them in such a way. Not only does it work in their world, but works in yours. And I truly believe what comes to pass next is not only the very definition of change, but it's literally a gift in and of itself, which is transformation. And sometimes it's not the biggest things that we have to do to transform people's lives or the way that we want it to be out there for them to be or whatever. We can do the smallest of things that will lead into the biggest impacts in and of itself. And I truly believe in that. So, Ken, like I said, thank you so much for sharing your story with us here at Conversation for Humanity, here powered by us here at Bringing Humanity Together. I would like to invite you to join our great and growing team and community here at Bringing Humanity Together. So I will go to you, sir. What will be your final thoughts and your call to action today, sir?
Oh, goodness. My final thoughts. I have so many. You know, I was just kind of paying attention, and you've got like, I don't know, 2,300 members in your Bringing Humanity Together group. And, you know, it's just, what can I say to 2,300 people, right? That's kind of final thoughts. And, you know, here's what I want to say is, I want to encourage you to find what you're called to do, what you're passionate about, and don't be hindered by what other people tell you, but find people that pull that out and help you navigate how to turn your passion into your career and your future and what that looks like, right? I mean, maybe you're passionate about basketball, but you're only 37 inches tall. It's probably not a good, maybe you could become a basketball, you know, voice guy, right? Where you're talking on the mic about basketball. I don't know, right? But I mean, you know, just because you have this crazy idea doesn't necessarily mean that it's a profitable idea. But surround yourself with people that can help you flesh that passion into purpose. Because when we're living from our purpose and we're living from our strengths, we really are being a benefit to the world around us. And so for me, call to action, goodness, I hadn't really thought of my own call to action today.
I think that you just had a call to action. I think that was a darn mic drop, you know, to tell people to live in their passion.
Yeah. I mean,
Don't let anybody hinder you.
Yeah. I think for me, you know, right now, my whole journey is, in this moment in time, is getting my message out, really kind of honing in on that. And I think kind of my call to action is really kind of taking what we talked about today and utilizing that to really hone in on my message about what it is that I say and what I want people to hear about me, because I do. I mean, I do leadership training and development for companies and organizations, from mom and pop stores to multi-billion-dollar oil companies. I do individual coaching for, for restaurateurs to million-dollar oil field company owners. So, I mean, there's a lot that I do, and and so it's just kind of key for me to be able to articulate that in a really good way.
Well, Ken, we're just so humbled and honored that you found us here at Bringing Humanity Together, and that me and you got together and got connected, and you're now going to be connected to a great and growing community in and of itself. So thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. Thank you, Carla. Thank you, Jody. Thank you, James. And thank you to all watching. And again, if you'd like to know more about Bringing Humanity Together, or if you want to get a hold of Ken, please, here's where you can. Just go to this link right here. I've already put it in the chat, which is connect with Ken Noble, LinkedIn.com, the Ken Noble.
Yep.
And we're so humble and honored that you're here with us today. So Ken and everyone, have a great day. Make your day. We'll see each other tomorrow on Humanity Happy Hour, hosted by none other than Carla Fedigan. Have a great day, everyone.
Nice to meet you, Ken.
Thanks. Nice to meet you too.